Perhaps you've done this today, maybe while making coffee, organizing things on your desk, or driving a longer stretch than usual. Your lips moved. A voice came out, low, almost a whisper, almost a secret. And that voice was yours, talking to yourself. Many people find it strange. Some even feel embarrassed when someone notices. But what few people know is that this silent habit, this way of murmuring thoughts to the air, can be one of the clearest signs of a mind that functions on a different level. Not better or worse. Different. Deeper. In this video, we're not going to analyze or diagnose anything. We're going to observe together a very specific and very common behavior and understand what your body and mind are trying to tell you when they do this. Because perhaps what seemed like a meaningless habit is, in fact, a superpower you've been carrying for years without realizing it. If any part of this behavior seems familiar to you, share in the comments. This is a quiet space to recognize yourself and better understand your own superpowers. Your lips move on their own when you're focused on something important. You're assembling something, reading instructions, trying to solve a problem that seems bigger than it should be. And suddenly, without realizing it, your lips begin to move. Words come out softly, almost automatically, as if your mind needs an outlet beyond thought. It's subtle, it's involuntary, and it happens precisely when you need clarity the most. This movement isn't a distraction. It's the opposite. When something is important enough to demand your full attention, the body finds a way to help the mind keep everything in place. Speaking, even softly, is like creating a path so your thoughts don't get lost. It's the way you learned, without anyone teaching you, to not let go of what matters. Notice that this doesn't happen when the matter is simple. It happens when what's in front of you demands real care. This means that your body recognizes the difference between what is shallow and what is deep, and reacts differently to each. This, in itself, is a superpower that most people don't even realize they have. Your body created an inner voice to protect you from the chaos around you. There are days when the world around you seems too noisy. People talking at once, decisions arriving without warning, situations demanding answers before you've had time to think. And in the midst of it all, a voice emerges. Calm, soft, just yours. As if a part of you knew exactly how to bring you back when everything around you is rushing too fast. This voice didn't appear by chance. It was built up over time, each time the outside world became too big and you needed a fixed point to lean on. Talking to yourself, even in almost total silence, is a way the body has found to create a safe space within you. A place that no one can invade, where thoughts can organize themselves without haste and without judgment. Many people seek this silence outside, in a quiet place during a break with headphones. But those who have this habit have learned to build this silence within, even amidst the noise. This is a rare skill. It's like having a quiet room inside you that no one else has access to, and that only opens when you need it most. You mumble while cooking, driving, or organizing something around the house. She's chopping vegetables, tidying a drawer, folding clothes, or driving down a familiar road. Her body does what it knows how to do, almost on autopilot. And it's precisely in those moments that the voice appears. A low murmur, sometimes a stray phrase, sometimes just a repeated word. No one asked for it. No one was expecting it. But it came anyway. This happens because when the hands are occupied with something simple, the mind is free to work on what really matters. And it doesn't waste this freedom. It uses murmuring as a tool, as if organizing in a low voice were a way of bringing order to what is still loose inside. The body performs the task. The mind resolves what was left pending, and the voice is the bridge between the two. Pay attention to what you say in these moments. Often, it's precisely the things you haven't yet resolved, the decisions that are still pending, the feelings that haven't yet found their place. Your body uses these moments of simple tasks as a discrete window to process what is complex. This isn't distraction. It's emotional intelligence working silently, without making a fuss. If you've noticed this way of reacting in yourself or someone close to you, right? This sounds like me. This helps this video reach more people who think and feel similarly. Talking to yourself in a low voice is how your mind processes information before acting. Before making an important decision, before replying to a difficult message, before entering a conversation that requires care, you realize you need a moment. And in that moment, almost unintentionally, you begin to speak. Not to anyone, to yourself, as if you needed to hear the thought aloud before trusting it, as if the spoken word had a different weight than the word merely thought. This reveals something very specific about how your mind works. It doesn't act on impulse. It checks. It tests the thought before turning it into action. Speaking softly before acting is like doing an internal rehearsal, a silent check that ensures what goes out has already passed through the inside first. It's a filter, and filters protect. People who act without thinking rarely have this habit, because this habit is precisely the sign of a mind that has learned that haste is costly, that a wrong word at the wrong time can change a lot, and that it's worth spending a few extra seconds organizing your thoughts before releasing them into the world. This is not hesitation. This is wisdom working very quietly and discreetly. Your brain uses words as a tool to organize what others leave jumbled. Have you ever been in a situation where everyone was confused, not knowing what to do, and you needed a quiet moment to put everything in order? While the others were still in the midst of chaos, you were already, in a low voice, rearranging the pieces, separating what was urgent from what could wait, naming the problem to be able to see the solution, using words as if they were organizational tools. This process happens almost automatically in those who have this habit. The mind cannot rest while something is loose, nameless, without a place. And the way it found to resolve this was to transform confusion into language, to put words to the feeling, to the problem, to the situation. Because when something has a name, it stops seeming bigger than it is. It becomes something that can be faced. That's why many people with this habit are naturally good at helping others see situations more clearly. Not because they studied for it, but because their own minds already work that way, organizing, naming, translating the confusing into something understandable. This is a superpower of clarity that few recognize as such, precisely because it seems simple, but it isn't. It's much rarer than it seems. When something goes wrong, you instinctively narrate the situation to yourself to find a way out. Something unexpected happens, a plan that didn't work, an answer that didn't come, a situation that spiraled completely out of control. And while many freeze, panic, or simply give up, you do something different. You begin to narrate. In a low voice, almost as if you were telling the story to someone who needs to understand. But that someone is yourself. And this narrative is the beginning of the way out. Narrating the problem aloud has a very specific effect on the mind. It creates distance. When you recount what's happening, even if only to yourself, you step outside the problem and begin to look at it from the outside. And from the outside, solutions appear much more easily. It's like changing places in a dark room. The space is the same, but the angle changes everything. This habit of narrating during difficult times is a protective mechanism that your mind developed on its own, without a manual, without instruction. It learned that silent chaos is harder to resolve than named chaos. And so, every time something goes wrong, it lights up that voice like a lantern. Not to complain, to find a way. That is resilience, and it resides in your voice. That inner voice that becomes a whisper is a sign that your mind works in layers. While one part of you is present in a conversation, another is observing. While one part is performing a task, Another is already thinking about the next step. And while all this is happening at the same time, a whisper arises. Discreet, almost imperceptible, but constant. As if there were more than one floor functioning within you, and this whisper were the sound of them all working together. Minds that work in layers rarely manage to be completely silent. Not because they are agitated or anxious, but because there is so much processing happening at the same time. The whisper is the visible surface of something much deeper. It's a sign that your mind doesn't work in a straight line, one thought at a time. It works in a network, connecting points that others don't even realize exist. This explains why you sometimes arrive at conclusions that surprise the people around you. It wasn't luck. It was that layered processing working silently while you were doing something else. While washing dishes, while walking, while seemingly not paying attention to anything. Your mind never completely stops, and the whispering is the most honest proof of that. It's at working, always, even when the world thinks you're at rest. You think better when you can hear your own thoughts, even if they're out loud. There are times when the thoughts inside your head seem too fast, jumbled, difficult to control. And you realize that when you manage to speak, even softly, even just into the air, everything slows down and becomes clearer. As if your voice had the power to slow down what was speeding up too much. As if hearing your own thoughts were different from simply having them. This happens because there's a real difference between thinking and hearing what you think. When a thought remains only within the mind, it competes with everything around it, with other ideas, emotions, and memories. But when it becomes spoken word, it occupies a different space. It becomes something concrete, something that can be evaluated, adjusted, confirmed, or discarded. The voice transforms the invisible into something that can be worked on. People who need to talk in order to think better aren't being inconvenient. They're using a natural and powerful resource that their own minds have developed. It's a form of intelligence that doesn't show up in tests or rankings, but appears in the moments that matter. In the moments when everyone else is lost and you, after an almost imperceptible whisper, find your way with a clarity that surprises even yourself. If this explanation has made something clearer about your way of being, comment, "Now I understand better." Your participation strengthens this community of self-knowledge. People who talk to themselves rarely act on impulse. They process things first. Imagine a situation where someone said something that caught you off guard. An unexpected criticism, difficult news, a request you weren't prepared to receive. While others reacted immediately with words that came before thought, you did something different. You breathed. You murmured something softly, and only then did you respond. Not because you were afraid, because your mind needed a moment to process before acting. This interval between stimulus and response is one of the clearest signs of emotional maturity. And it almost always comes with the habit of talking to yourself, even if only for a few seconds. It's as if the voice functions as a decompression chamber, a space between what has arrived and what will come out. A filter that protects you and the people around you from the consequences of an unprocessed reaction. The world highly values speed. Those who respond faster seem more secure, more confident, more prepared. But there is a profound intelligence in those who know how to wait for their own processing before acting. In those who have learned that the right answer is worth more than the immediate answer. This is a superpower that makes no noise, doesn't attract attention, but completely changes the quality of the decisions, relationships, and results you build throughout your life. Your mind has learned that transforming thought into words is the quickest path to clarity. There's a very specific moment that those who have this habit know well. It's that moment when something was confusing, heavy, difficult to understand, and suddenly, after speaking in a low voice, everything became simpler. Not because the problem disappeared, but because it finally took shape. It had a contour. It had a beginning and an end. And when a problem has shape, it stops seeming infinite and starts to seem possible. Transforming thought into word is an act of silent courage. It's giving a name to what was hidden, bringing to light what was functioning in the dark. And your mind learned this in a very particular way, not through instruction, not through technique, but out of necessity.